how many of us know God wants provision more than just money, more than just success. He wants us also to be successful in our relationship as well. So talking about this series is quite comprehensive. I believe you're going to be provision in every areas of our life. But one thing I want to note that with all the unprecedented changes, how many of us know we got to get ready to step into hidden opportunities and hidden resources. But the key thing is for us is to take that bold step to step in. Because how many of us know we are living in an age of, you may say, ambiguity, uncertainties. And if we were to really lay hold of all the great opportunities and hidden resources, we got to take that bold step to step out, all right? And not hiding in our homes, have a shut-down kind of mentality. And, when the same thing when God called Abraham, he didn't lay before Abraham a complete plan of his life. 2 years plan, 10 years plan, 20 years plan. He has to take that step to walk into uncertainties and ambiguity. And many of us, we like to have plans. It's good to have plans. But sometimes we have this kind of a mindset. This is my 5 years plan. This is my 10 years plan. This is my 50 years plan. And we get upset when our plan didn't take the way that we wanted to. Now, let me tell you this. If everything is working according to your plans, I think life is going to be very boring. I'm one of those that, yes, I plan, but I'm very open to changes, open to different direction that God is taking us. And it's going to be very boring if life is working according to plan, because we're going to miss the unexpected miracles and opportunities that God has for us. Like Moses, all right, when he stepped into the role of bringing people out of the land of bondage, let me tell you this. The least expected thing is when he was in front of the Red Sea, behind was the whole army of Pharaoh. Man, it was not according to plan. This is what seemed to be God has promised. In front was the Red Sea, and behind is the army. But Psalm 77 says,
"Your road led by a pathway through the sea, a pathway no one knew was there."
How many of us know Moses and his people may be surprised at the army behind him, the sea in front? God was not surprised. He already got a solution. God already got the solution. Exodus 14 tells us what is the solution.
Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the people can go through the sea on dry ground." That the Lord sent a strong east wind and parted the Red Sea.
How did God part the sea? Very often we just say lift up the rod. But how many of us that behind it, God sent the Bible says in verse 21, a strong east wind. All right, east wind. Now talk about east wind. Now Egypt will be on our west, right? And then the Holy Land will be on the east. Now the east wind means they are blowing from the east. And when they are standing in front of the sea, do you think they feel the wind blowing? Unlikely, because it's quite far away. But how many of us know, even if they don't feel the wind blowing at them, how many of us know God is already at work? There are times in which you say, "Oh God, look at the situation around about me," and Lord, you seem to be forgotten by God. But how many of us know God is always at work? Looking back, it's good to look back and what God has done. Man, during the lockdown, you should remember we just got back from the Holy Land, and man, there was this lockdown. And it was perhaps one of the most toughest periods in our church life. Every week, we hear of members dying, going into ICU, and having to go put on ventilators. And every week, we were so anxious and almost sleepless night on. When we hear from the zone pastor, this one is in hospital, this one, man, it is something which we don't want to look back to. But in the midst of all this, there was a devastating flood. Watch this. the table inside the pavilion. All pushed one side already. The chiller, display chiller also fell down already. Totally broke. You see the water level up to here. Water level. Our lower ground floor, everything was gone. But I remember though, God has already provided. The east wind has already been blowing, and we saw hidden resources, hidden opportunities. And today, if you go down to the Dream Center, totally refurbished to me, it's almost like Ritz-Carlton. I mean, the wall, everything. It's amazing what God provided more than enough. You look back, it was one of the best times in our church life. I'm here to propose to you, the worst of time can be a time of your greatest harvest. Joshua chapter 5.
And they ate of the produce of the land on the day after the Passover, unleavened bread and parched grain on the very same day. Then the manna ceased on the day after they had eaten the produce of the land, and the people no longer had manna, but they ate the food of the land that year.
Okay, when God commanded Joshua to bring the people across the river, it was not the best of time. It was the time when it was flooded, all right? And the river was the fastest and the deepest and the widest. Man, it is a crazy thing to step into the river. And the same way, Pastor, you say step into this season of ambiguity, of uncertainty, boldly, looking for hidden resources, looking for hidden opportunity. It's a crazy thing. But how many of us, though, if they hesitated to walk through the toughest situation, man, they're going to miss the first and the greatest harvest they have ever experienced. 40 years, all they could see is desert. 40 years, all they could have is manna. But now they have the fresh produce of the land, the first and the greatest harvest they ever experienced. In other words, when we hesitate to step into what God has taken us, wow, man, you're going to miss the hidden treasure, hidden opportunity. Now, okay, finally they get to enter into the land. The most terrible thing that they experience, alarming thing that they experience, is that manna ceased. I can imagine, they don't mind having the fresh produce, but at least the manna still come down. At least the quail, the birds still come down. No, the manna ceased the very day they got that harvest from the land. And I can imagine the panicking among the people. Oh God, what is happening? Well, just look back. For 40 years, that means 14,600 mornings. Every day, manna dropped from the heaven, and the quail, the bird, came just within the arm's reach. And now, suddenly gone, all right? But when the day that the manna ceased, it was the day they experienced a fresh new provision from God, provision which is bigger, provision which is better, and far more enjoyable. How many knows though that, the fresh produce of the land is anytime better than the manna, the bread that drop. And so, how many knows though the worst of time can be a time of your greatest harvest. And but sometimes when you go through bitter situation, you feel that God has forgotten you. But how many knows though, God never forgets. Psalm 105 tells us,
For he remembered his holy promise given to his servant Abraham. He brought out his people with rejoicing, his chosen ones with shouts of joy.
Now, what does it mean that God never forget? Does it mean that God just remember what he has promised you? No. The word remember in the Hebrew means he is going to overwhelm you with his goodness, and he's going to surprise you with his favor. I have an amazing story of this particular lady. He was a single mother trying to raise the few child that she has in a very small apartment, but she lost her job. So it's about to have to let go the apartment because the bank is going to sell up the house in auction, and of course she was completely heartbroken. And on the day of the auction, in order to see a closure to whatever that she's facing, she actually went to the auction. And of course, she was crying, her heart was broken, and caught the attention of a lady that came to auction to buy some houses, and asked what is happening. And she told her story, how she was a single mother trying to raise up kids in this little apartment. And during the auction, that particular lady bid and bid and bid and bid that particular property, and she got it. And she went straight to the lady. Now she was already crying, pouring, heartbroken. And he said, "Ma'am, I came here to buy a house for my son. But I seem to realize God has another plan. It's to buy that house of yours and give it back to you." Can you just imagine? A hopeless situation. And man, God has other plan when there seems to be no plan. And some of you may feel today that God has forgotten your dream. But no. He remembers. That means He's going to overwhelm you with His goodness and His favor. Maybe some of you, maybe you're going to lose something, your business or your apartment. How many of us know God still can work a miracle? He did it for this particular lady. He can do it for you as well. Maybe you have lost a particular business. It was a very, very devastating loss for your business. How many of us know God has a solution? In the worst of time, get ready for your greatest treasure. Maybe you lose your job. How many of us know God has ready for you another job?